Welcome to this tutorial, guys. Basically, I'm going to go through rounding off, so rounding off of whole numbers as well as rounding off of decimals. Okay, so before I start, I just want to go over the method that we follow when rounding off. Okay, so let's actually first start off with a definition of numbers. Okay, so let's have some number something like this: 1, 2, 4, 5, 8, comma 7 to 9. Okay, so let's define all these places before the comma. Okay, so we have units, we have tens, we have hundreds, we have thousands, we have 10,000s. If we went on and we added a 7, this would be 100,000. The next one would be millions, and so on. Okay, looking this way, we have tenths, hundredths, and thousandths, and again thousands. Okay, and again, if we went on, then we would have millionths, and so on. Okay, but after a decimal place, the hundredth or the tenth is also known as the first decimal place. Let's just get that. Is also known as the first decimal place. The hundredth is known also as the second decimal place or two decimal places. The thousandth is also the third decimal place, and so on and so on. Okay, so let's go over the method or the idea behind rounding off. Okay, so the idea behind rounding off is we have a number, let's say, okay, and we want to round off to the nearest, and they give us a value. So let's say we were given to the nearest 10. Okay, so then we find the 10th. Okay, so this is our 10th. So what we do is we look at the number before that. So the number before that, directly before that, is a 4. So then what we do is we compare. So if the number is greater than 5, then we round up. If the number is less than 5, it's actually greater than or equal to 5. And if the number is less than 5, then we round down. Okay, so the rounding up process, or let's actually do the rounding down process as with this one. So we have to round down. So we have 7, 2, 3. If we're rounding down, then what we do is we keep the next number, which is the 7, and we replace this number and any number afterwards by zeros. Okay, similarly, let's do a question like this: 8694, and let's round off to the nearest thousandth. Okay, and let's have, okay, so what we do is we look at the number before. So it is a 3. A 3 is less than 5, so it fits that criteria, and so we round down. So we change the 3 to 0, and everything after that becomes zeros. Okay, let's look at some rounding up. So let's have 87295, and we want to round off to the nearest 10. So we're looking at that place and we look at the number. Okay, let's not actually do that. Let's round off to the nearest 1000th. So we're looking at this number. The next number is a 9. 9 fits into the greater than or equal to 5 criteria, so we increase that number. So we become 873, and everything after that becomes zeros. Okay, so let's do some questions. Okay, so what's important here? See, what's important here is not really that. Okay, but the most important thing is this criteria. Okay, so let's do some examples. So let's look at example 1. Okay, so for right now we're looking at whole numbers, essentially with no decimal places. Okay, so let's round this number off. So round it to the nearest tenth, then hundredth or 100, and then nearest 10, 100, and then to the nearest 1000. Okay, so looking at 1. So for 1 we need to go to the 10 value, so we are here, and we look at this value here. We are looking at the 4. 4 is less than 5, so we know that 7, 2, we're going to keep 3, and the next number becomes 0. Let's look at the second one. For the second one, we are looking for the nearest 100, so we're looking there. The number before that is less than 5, and so we round down again. Everything after becomes 0. And finally, looking at the third one, we're looking at the 7, and the number before that is a 2. 2 is less than 5, and so we round down once again. Okay, let's look at another number. Let's look at a bit of a long number. So 7, 2, 9, 3, 4, 8, 5, 4, 4. Okay, and first we want to round to the nearest 100. Second, we want to round to the nearest 100,000. And next we want to round off to the nearest 10 million. Okay, so the first one, we look at the hundreds column. So looking at the hundreds, the number before that is a 4. So everything before that stays as it is. And 4 is less than 5, so we round down, and everything after that becomes 0. So looking at the second question, what we have is 100,000. So this is 1,000, so this is 100,000. Let's actually change that number to a 6. So we add 100,000. So let's look at this, and we have the number before that is a 6. So 6 is greater than 5, or greater than equal to 5, so we round up, so that 6 becomes a 7, and everything, or rather 6 is greater, so that 3 becomes a 4, and everything after that becomes 0. And looking at the last question, 10 million, so this is a million, this is 10 million. Okay, so we're looking at this 9. So 9 is greater than 5, so it becomes 73, 0, and everything else becomes zeros. Okay, and let's look at a final example C, where we have okay, and let's look first at the 10, nearest 10, second to the nearest 100, third to the nearest 1,000, fourth to the nearest 100,000. Okay, so starting at the tens, this is the 10, so we look at the number before that. Okay, 5 is greater than or equal to, so it's equal to 5, so we round up. So everything before that stays as it is, and we round the 4 to a 5. Okay, looking at the hundreds, 100 is there. The number before that is a 4. 4 is less than 5, and so we have to round down. So everything stays 5, and everything becomes zeros. The next one we're looking at is 1,000. So 1000 is this point. The number before that is a 5. So we have 2, 9. 5 is greater than or equal to 5, so we round this up, and everything after that becomes a 0. And the last one we look at is 100,000, which is that point right there. Okay, looking at the number before that, we look at the 9. Okay, we look at the 9. The 9 is greater than 5, so we have to round up once again. So we round the 3 up and the 2 up to a 3, and everything after that becomes a 0. Okay, let's do a very interesting question now. Something that looks like this. 4. Okay, and let's round off to the nearest. First, let's do to the nearest 10. Let's do 100. Let's do 10,000. Okay, so rounding off to the 10. So we look at the tens column. The number before that is a 4. Okay, so 4 is less than 5, so we round down, and that becomes a 0. Looking at the next one is 100. So the 100 column is right there. The number before that is a 9. So this becomes rounding up. But when we round 9 up, it becomes 10. So we add 1 here. When you round 9 plus 1 is 10 again, we add 1 there. 9 plus 1 is 10 again. So we have 300. 1, 2, 3. So when you're rounding a number like this off, you have to be very careful because you have continual rounding off. So let's look at the next one was the next one was 10,000. 10,000 is right here. If we highlight that number, the number before that is 9, so that has to round up. Again, the 9 rounds up to a 10, so we have to add 1 there, and we're left with 300,000 once again. Okay, let's go for one more example with something similar like that. Let's have 34995. Spacing there is a bit odd. 34995, and let's round off to the nearest 100. Okay, so rounding off to the nearest 100, we look there. The number before that is a 9, so we know we have to round up. Rounding 9 up becomes 10, so we add 1 here, so we're left with 35, 1, 2, 3. Okay, so that is rounding off whole numbers. I hope that makes sense. Now we're going to go on to rounding off for decimals. Okay, actually, right before that, something interesting to note, or something that you should know, is that 50 is equal to 050 is equal to 00050. So having zeros at the front has no effect on your rounding. So if you had some number like this, and we wanted to round off to the nearest 1000, that is the value we have, and the number we look at is this 9. And if we round off to the nearest 1000, we get 2, 1, 2, 3. We do not care about zeros at the beginning of a number. Okay, now we're going on to decimals. Okay, decimals follow the exact same principle. Okay, so if we have some number like 52,349 and we want to round off to 1 decimal place, 2 decimal places, and 3 decimal places. So let's start with the first one, 1 decimal place. So we look here, the number before that is a 4. 4 rounds down, so we have 52,360. 0, 0. But zeros at the end after a decimal means nothing. So let's think about it like this. 52,00 is equal to 52,0000 is equal to 52,000,000,000. Think about it like having money. If you had $52.00, it's the same as having $52.000000 infinite times cents. Okay, so zeros after a decimal have absolutely no meaning at the end. Something like this, 52,05, is not equal to 52,005. Okay, because having 52 and 5 cents is different to having 52 and 5 millicents or microcents, however you want to look at it. Okay, but continuing on with our questions, if we want to round off to 2 decimal places, then we look at this point right here. So the number of interest is 9. 9 is greater than 5, so we round up. So we're left with 52,350, or which is exactly equal to 52,35. We don't have to show the zeros. Okay, and rounding off finally to 3 decimal places, we're looking right here, and we assume a number before that of 0, and 0 always rounds down, so we're left with the exact number we started with. Okay, now let's go on to something a bit more challenging. 528,972. Okay, and we want to round off to 1 decimal place, 2 decimal place, and let's say 3 decimal places. Okay, actually, yeah, let's change this there. Let's make it 0, 2. Okay, so looking at the first one, we want to 1 decimal place, so we're looking at this 7 as the value of interest. So 7 is greater than 5, so we have to round up. Again, a problem comes in when we round up 9, it becomes 10, so we add 1 here. So we're left with 529,0. Okay, when it says 1 decimal place, just show the 0 because it wants it to the first decimal place. Okay, looking at the second question, okay, so 1 decimal place looking to 2 decimal places. This is the value of interest, and 0 is the comparative value. So 0 is less than 5, so everything before that becomes zeros, so we can leave those off, obviously. Okay, and looking at the last case, to 3 decimal places, so we're looking here, and the value of interest is 2. 2 is less than 0, 2 is less than 5, and so we round down. And when we round 0 down, we're left with exactly that. Okay, so those are some examples on rounding decimals. I don't think it can get much harder. Let's just do one more, and let's do something crazy like 0,7983524. And first we want to round off to 2 decimal places. Second, we want to round off to 4 decimal places. And third, we want to round off to 6 decimal places. And we've got 0, 0, which mean absolutely nothing, like I said before. Okay, looking at the first question, we want 2 decimal places. So we go 1, 2. Here's our number. The number of interest is the next number, which is an 8. 8 is greater than 5, so we're rounding up. When we round 9 up, it becomes a 10. So this becomes 0,80. Okay, and we have 2 decimal places. The second question, we have 4 decimal places. We look 1, 2, 3, 4. That's right here. The number before that is a 5. Okay, 5 is greater than or equal to 5, so we round up. So this 3 becomes a 4. So we have 0,7984. And then looking at the last question, question 3, we're looking to 6 decimal places. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So we're right here. the number of interest is this one here, which is the 4. 4 is less than 5, so we round it down, and so we have the exact number with a 0 afterwards. Okay guys, thanks for watching. I hope this was useful. That's all the examples I've got, and thanks for watching. Yeah.